Yeah, I think it is. That's what's so unique about the film is that you think that it's just going to be like, the older version, is the wise one and she gives the advice, but it's actually just not true. It's like the older you get, the more you need the wisdom of your younger self because time goes on, you get jaded and you forget. And so I think it's refreshing to have that be like the twist of the movie.
So, Megan, I wanted to start with you because there is this great and very relatable idea at the core of this film about what you would say to your younger self if you had the chance. Did the film start with that idea or did it start elsewhere?
No, it kind of started actually with the scene or the conversation between Chad and Elliot on the boat where they're talking about there was a last time that you played pretend with your friends and you didn't know it was the last time and isn't that sad? And I was home in Canada and sleeping in my childhood bed, and I was thinking about the last time my nuclear family all slept there before things changed, and it was almost like, wow, if I could go back and tell myself it was the last time, would that have made it better or worse, I guess. And it was sort of that feeling and that, I guess, sadness and just feeling of nostalgia that made me want to explore that idea more. And then oddly, Elliot and the mushrooms and all of that came a little bit later in the process.
The setting is so beautiful. I did wonder how much of that came from any of your background. Is there some cranberry farming in your past?
No cranberry farming, but that is a thing up. That is something that they do up there in Muskoka. It's about 2 hours north of Toronto. Really beautiful. I grew up going there every summer, and I did go to a summer camp on an island up there and canoed and sailed and all that. And the town that I grew up in is about 30 minutes away, and Maisy's town is like another,
right across. Yeah,
30 minutes away from the town I grew up in. So there was a lot of memories for both of us.
So when you were going into casting your two Elliots, what were you looking for and what was that process like?
You don't really know until you know. Like for me, when I'm watching tapes, like I'll know. Actually, I used to be an actor, and what I would go back and tell myself, so they just asked us this question. I didn't have an answer, and now I do. But like, there were so many talented people out there who read, and so much of it is just an energy and a vibe thing, and it's not really anything that's out of your control in a weird way. And so I just kind of knew within the first kind of 15 or 20 seconds of seeing the tapes for all the people who was right. But with Maisy, I call her she was kind of like a secret muse for me a little bit in crafting this character, but I didn't really know her. So it was almost like the idea of who Maisy might be because we had met very briefly.
So much pressure to live up to the Maisy in your head.
You delivered, don't worry.
Oh, thank God.
But yeah, she had ended up doing a music piece for my first movie, The Fallout, and we had met a little bit through that process. And I was just really taken with the idea that there was this, and I'd already started writing the movie, but this character who was so cool and grounded and real, but also had so much sweetness and warmth and joie de vivre. And Maisy just had that in spades. And then when she read, she not only was able to infuse all of that into the character, but just bring it to life in a really incredible way that I had never even imagined. So, and then we built the whole cast around Maisy, which was really incredible. And then Aubrey was like the perfect missing piece of the puzzle. And obviously at first Maisy and I are huge fans of Aubrey, but we were like, well, she doesn't have blonde hair and doesn't look exactly like Maisy, so how is this going to work? But at a certain point, we were like, yeah, but the energy is so right for the film and as an energy match. And so we just wrote in a few little jokes to get over that, and it really worked out.
Maisy, in addition to being a musical artist, you were on the show Nashville.
Yes.
And then you took a bit of a break from acting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about kind of taking that break and also what brought you back?
Yeah, I mean, those 4 years that I wasn't working was like the most important formative years of my life. I just really got to screw my head on tight, and I just really wanted to go back to school because I was on set schooled and my education was Harry Potter, that was kind of it. So I was really wanted to go to proper high school. So I went to an art school in Nashville. And
what was your major?
I took classical guitar, a nerd, but yeah, it was. Those years were I feel those years were actually my prep for this movie because I wasn't consistently working. I wasn't a child actor pretending to be a normal kid. I really just was and am. So yeah, those years were my favorite. I'm so grateful that I got them.
Did you relate to the character of Elliot?
Yes, so much. I mean, I think I relate to Megan's writing, like, as a whole. I read the script for Fallout when I was, like, 17, and it, like, genuinely, it opened my mind so much. I was like, oh, this is something that I, like, need to do, like, need to be a part of. And so I literally, during this process, was, like, fully manifesting Megan and I holding hands at some point and getting to work together. And, yeah, I'm a little witch, so I made it happen, but... yeah.
Aubrey, when did you get approached about this project, and what about the script spoke to you?
I came in pretty late in the process, and first the script, kind of like what Maisy said, the script was amazing. I cried every time I read it, and I feel like that's usually a good indicator, you know. It got me every time, and I love the idea of it, and I loved how, like, the kind of time travel, like, high concept part of the movie was handled in the movie. It's my favorite kind, where it's like it's a buy-in, like Megan says. It's a buy-in, but we don't get lost in trying to figure out the rules of this, you know, sci-fi element time travel thing. It's more about the relationships, and so it kind of ticked off all the boxes for me. I love movies like that have a, like, kind of, that transport you, you know, that aren't so grounded in reality. And then of course I met Megan. I saw the Fallout. I thought the Fallout was so beautifully done, and then Megan was just cool, and she was like, she's like a secret slayer. Like, she was kind of like, yeah, it's just gonna be a really cool vibe. And it was like, it felt very casual, but I was like,
so much like you.
But I was like, and I was like, the vibe is gonna be cool, huh? And then I don't know, I felt like we were like having a conversation, but underneath we were like communicating on another level. And then
how was the vibe?
It was cool. It was very cool. And then Maisy, you know, I didn't, you know, I hadn't seen anything that she had done, but I heard that she was crushing it, and I heard she was amazing, and they sent me some early stuff that she was doing as the character before I flew to the set and started shooting. So I actually got to, like, see some of her performance, like, sneaky style, early on.
Creep.
And yeah, I don't know, there was just something about it instinctually for me that I was like, I want to be a part of this.
You two have such a great, warm, funny rapport, like, instantly. It's one of my favorite parts of the film. How did you kind of go about building that? Did you have a lot of time outside of shooting, or was that just kind of happened as you were going?
No, we had, like, no time out of it.
No time.
Yeah, it was very, very quick. I think that I was already filming for, like, 2 weeks when Aubrey was attached, and for me, like, I didn't have time to spiral on the fact that I was playing Aubrey Plaza's baby self. Like, I would have been so nervous going into it, but I feel like because I was already, like, in the routine, like, I don't know, we just met and we just clicked and connected, and I feel like there was not a lot of, like, external pressure too on us to, like, there was no, like, pressure to, like, have it be this certain thing. Mm-hmm. So we kind of just, like, had a cool vibe, as Megan.
It was all about vibes. Yeah. But yeah, it was kind of, it honestly was. It was like, yeah, we met like a couple days before we started shooting, and Megan just set up everything perfectly and allowed us to, you know, get to know each other in a fun environment, not in, like, some pressure cooker. Like, it felt really organic. And yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, like, Maisy was already working, so I came in kind of, you know, like, I came in kind of hot. I was coming in, like, targeting you, and just kind of like.
But we kind of had to dive in. Like, the first scene that we filmed, I, like, kissed you on the mouth, so we kind of had to get cozy quick. But yeah, if you're both, like, down, then it'll work. Like, I feel like we just like met each other. The
minute I met you, it was just. I was like, okay, everything's gonna be fine. Like, I just could feel it, and then it was really just about, like, letting our energies, like, wash over each other and not trying to be so mimicky about it.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask about that because I feel like it's very easy to buy, you know, the concept. But, like, how much did you feel like you needed to pick up some of her mannerisms or tailor your performance?
Well, this was a different like situation because I was already filming for 2 weeks. So obviously, in any normal situation, like I would be the one like matching everything about Aubrey, but like because my character like Baby Elliot was already kind of like established.
No,
we
I
kind
think
of
it was,
just
like,
met more in the middle than what would be typical. You know what I mean?
I think it actually was better that way because you were already in the zone, and then I was able to like kind of just try to pick up on little things, like really just the way Maisy talks, like the certain words and like how she uses her hands and stuff. Like I was just kind of yeah. But again, like Megan wasn't like strict about it. It wasn't like we had to do anything. It was just like whatever felt natural.
Yeah.
It's such a big buy-in. We talked a lot about movies like 13 Going on 30 and Mrs. Doubtfire, where it's like it's an insane idea, but you don't care because you love the characters, and the buy-in either works or it doesn't. And we felt like the chemistry between them was so special that it was fun to watch them weave little things together, but we tried not to make that like live or die by that,
Megan, as you mentioned, you started your career as an actor. I definitely watched you on Secret Life of an American Teenager. What do you feel your background in acting has kind of, how has that informed how you direct and how you direct actors, or just what you want from your set?
I think it was like the education I ever could have gotten, probably, without even realizing it. I grew up in a house without a TV, and like no one in my family was in the industry. So I think the natural, it's like, oh, I'm into the arts, so I'll go to theater camp. So I kind of fell into performing, and I did enjoy it. And I, when you have a little bit of success in something, you're like, oh, I should keep doing this. But it never felt like truly totally the right thing that I was meant to do. And then as soon as I started writing, I was like, oh, this is clicking in a way for me that acting never really had fully. And then but I felt so comfortable. I spent like 20 years on sets. And so that was like my home. And I really understood the dynamic and people's roles or whatever. But I'd also really been on a lot of sets that I didn't like the vibe of. And especially as a young person, did not feel comfortable in. So I really wanted to try to curate a different energy on my sets, especially working with younger actors. And so, I think and I really respect actors, and I had worked with so many different actors who like to work in so many different ways, and I think I was quickly able to pick up on kind of maybe what people needed or didn't need. I don't want to speak for them, but and especially on The Fallout, I will say it was even harder because it was during the pandemic, and I was like literally directing Jenna from a back room with a walkie behind it. It was like pre-vaccine, the whole thing. So that being my first movie, I was very grateful that I'd been on so many sets, because that would have been really challenging, I think, if not. But this one was obviously a totally different experience, and we really got to spend a lot of time together prepping and stuff. So
What the Fallout is also about characters who are around this age, though the subject matter is significantly darker. What is it about this time of life that feels so rich as a topic for you?
I didn't really set out to make them both about Gen Z. Really, I was actually, as a Canadian, as a millennial, when I moved to America, I was quite horrified, as everybody is, about what the school shootings. And I kept thinking, like, I literally would be too scared to go to school. And I wanted to just explore that topic. And obviously school shootings and being Gen Z go hand in hand. But with this movie, it was the same thing. I didn't really set out to tell a Gen Z story. And when I'm writing a character who's young, I'm not like thinking about it being a young person as like the first entryway into it. Again, it was almost this idea of nostalgia and time passing, and more older Elliot's voice in my head when I started writing it in a weird way. But I liked the idea of telling it from the perspective of younger Elliot. So I don't know. It was a happy accident, and I love writing younger characters. And I will probably do more of it.
She's also like one of the only writers that we've got right now that are like writing for Gen Z and for young people that feels like truly authentic to say. Like, I get so excited to say her dialogue, and that's like a rare thing. It's like, it's really hard. I wouldn't dare write a movie for Gen Z. It's so hard, and it's so hard to make it like, to like ride the line of it feeling timeless, but also still feeling like modern and relevant. And yeah, Megan just has a crazy ability to like write. I think because she doesn't like try to write for young people or try to make it overly Gen Z, and kind of just writes people, that like we, the young people, like add the Gen Z-ness, instead of it being the other way around. It's really nice.
I mean, one thing I particularly loved is the film's treatment of Elliot's sexuality, the ways in which which does feel very Gen Z, that she is already so kind of confident in her queerness, and what her journey is learning that she is maybe has more to discover about her own sexuality. And I was wondering if I could hear from all of you maybe about that, because I thought it was so delicately done.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be part of Elliot's story, but just a part of it. And we talked a lot about the importance of coming out stories, but this wasn't a coming out film. It was a part of Elliot's journey, but not the focus of this specific journey. And yeah, again, it just, same with Ro being non-binary, but like it just was a part of Ro and not necessarily like the spotlight. But yeah, I think kind of like school shootings and Gen Z go hand in hand. I think conversations about labels and identity and more open conversations about queerness and being Gen Z kind of also go hand in hand. Some, I don't want to speak for everybody.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I was really excited. I feel like I've watched so many things where it's a lot of times like genuinely like just like a token gay character, like just to make sure that you have that in there. And so I loved that Elliot, it was just like a part of her, and that wasn't the entirety of her purpose as a character. And I grew up in a way where like labels just, they were never pushed on me from any external source or anyone. And I know that's not everyone's experience, and I'm very grateful that that was mine, but I've always had a very fluid relationship with labels, and I've always allowed myself to change and to grow and, you know, not invalidate what I thought before and being like, that's not who I, like, that's who I was and who I am. And yeah, so I was very proud to be a part of something that felt very fluid and honest, and yeah.
Aubrey, this is a coming-of-age story for young Elliot, but also older Elliot has her own kind of moments of coming of age and learning and growing. I was curious about how that resonated with you, but also just like how you chose to play this character who is sometimes coming in as the voice of wisdom, but is also very resistant to always being cast as like the grown-up yet.
It definitely resonated with me. I think Megan and I are the same age, and so I felt, you know, I turned 40 this summer, but I was like 39 or, you know, when we shot the movie, and I think for me at this point in my life, like I definitely, you know, well, first of all, I do a lot of therapy because whatever, but I don't want to get into that right now, but it's there's a lot of it, well, all right, this is what's wrong with me. I think there's a lot of me that is really wants to hear from my younger self, like psychically, you know, and I think about it a lot, and I think it is something that is really helpful, at least in my journey, to try to go there in my mind and go like, wait a minute, like, you know, what would my younger self like be saying about this situation, or like, you know, wouldn't I have been so, you know, psyched about whatever XYZ, and I even like after we shot the movie, I like told Megan this, but I like found some like journal that I had written where I was like actually writing like letters to myself like from middle school, and it kind of blew my mind, and I so like, yeah, I think it is, that's what's so unique about the film, is that you think that it's just going to be like, the older version, you know, is the wise one and she gives the advice, but it's actually just not true. It's like the older you get, the more you need the wisdom of your younger self, because you know, time goes on, you get jaded and you forget. And so I think it's refreshing to have that be like the twist of the movie for me.
Your character also gives all of these little great hints about the future being like a grimmer place, as maybe we're all somewhat braced for. I was wondering if you had a particular favorite. Mine was definitely the idea that salmon is gone forever.
Yeah, we gotta eat all the salmon. There's like that one ADR. You went crazy in post with these like futuristic, like weird little Easter eggs. But that one moment where I'm like basement, and I'm screaming with a bass. It's like so weird, but that always makes me laugh. But yeah, it was. I think Megan did a really good job of like writing that line where it's like you get a little bit of it, but if you go too crazy with it, then everyone's gonna be like, well, wait a minute, you know. But
This is a Canadian film, and maybe never more so than when Ontario's own Justin Bieber comes in. But, I wanted to hear, did he have to approve the use of that song? And also, what was it like to shoot that scene?
Yeah, he did have to approve it, and the scary thing is that we had to shoot it before his team was gonna approve it. So we really did not have a plan B.
I like to think that his team approved it and watched it, and not him. Because if I think about him watching it, I can't even describe the
He's
feeling.
definitely seen it. There's no way that he has not watched it. I'll find out.
Check your DMs because I'm sure he sent you a message.
I try. He
Thank
never
you.
writes me. I don't know why.
Yeah, you did. You followed it. He did. He read the scripted, or his team read the scripted version, and they were like, yeah, we like this, but we want to make sure, when we see the final cut that it's all good. But we were hopeful. It was obviously an homage to him, a love letter to him. So we hope that he would appreciate it. And he is a Canadian boy who's been spotted up in Muskoka. So we hope there was a bit of connective tissue there. And then obviously Maisy killed it. So we hoped he appreciated that.
I've really genuinely been prepping for that my entire life. I'd been studying him for a long time before I got this opportunity. So it was in the script, it was, I don't remember what song it was, but I know it was a Disney song that you originally, it was some type of musical sequence.
It was a more millennial Disney reference.
Right.
Yeah.
Which couldn't get approved, doing shrooms and drugs in the scene. But then Megan was like, what is the performance, the song that your generation would die for? And I knew right away what it was.
Well, we're almost out of time, but before we wrap, I did want to ask each of you, if you were visited by your future selves, what age would you want? Would you want to hear from?
Oh my gosh.
I want old. I want 78. I want 78.
Why is that?
Because I just feel like I already don't care a lot. And at that point, I think I'm really not going to care. Or something. You know what I mean? So I want to know what's going on with that.
Dude, I don't know.
I'm going to go mid to late 70s also. Yeah, because then it's you made it at least that far.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty big win.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would hope to get some wisdom on some things from 70s me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like I'd want to meet me at my mom's age and see how similar we are and see, I feel like that would be so interesting.
All right. Well, before I get one last round of applause, I also wanted to congratulate you, Maisy, on your Gotham's Breakthrough nomination.
Thank you so much.
And let's get one round of applause. Oh, and also, if you wouldn't mind holding your seats, they have another event to go to right after this, so let them exit first.
Thank you guys
please.
for coming.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.